So let's explore why emotions matter in nonfiction. And of course, if you have been writing anything, you will know that emotions come up. One of the things I often do is I'm very lucky that my mum is still here. And if I've written something that involves her, I read it to her, and I'm a very emotional person. I really feel what's going on. And sometimes it's like, I can't actually read it because, that emotion comes up. And what is beautiful about emotions is it connects your reader, because although, we are writing for ourselves, we're writing for a particular reader. And these emotions will connect the reader to the truth beneath whatever it is that you're writing. We have to write to make an emotional connection. I love telling stories. I'm a big storyteller, but I always think that when I'm writing it, it connects to my emotions. And if it does that, it's going to connect to someone else's. And emotions build trust, because when your reader reads something, they go, I feel that too. And what readers know is if it's possible for you, but what you've written, it's possible in the world. And if you don't bring that emotion in, what have you got? A list of facts, a list of stories that has no connection. So they truly, truly matter. But what we don't want to do is do that. If you're on social media, you'll find people going, that terribly dramatic oversharing. And it's like, please, do we have to do that? Do not emotionally dump or vent. And I'm going to put a rider on that. You can do that as long as you edit. So I've worked with people. I remember someone giving me, I can't remember how long the book was. It was enormous. It was full of emotional dumping and venting. And by the time she published, it was definitely not that. And it's like, that was probably felt really, really good to write, but now you need to bin it. And you're not writing for validation. Yeah, you're writing to share a real honest reflection on what's gone on and emotional insight. The truth is, we can write whatever we want in the first draft. You can do whatever you like, but you've got to come back to that reader and you've got to say, what are they going to think if all I've done is gone blur on the page? So you really tighten that edit. So emotions come in layers, because what we're doing is we're guiding the reader to a truth. So there's that surface feeling, like what happened? How did it feel? Why did it matter? I'm telling you this, oh, just because I felt like it. No, there's a reason I'm sharing this. And, there's universal threads running through absolutely everything, love and grief and hate and betrayal and being betrayal up. And people can see themselves in this. Yeah. So I was angry. I was angry. I felt invisible, because the universal truth is we all long to be witnessed, seen, heard, held, felt. So we layer that stuff in. So when you write it, you probably, when you write it like this anyway. Yeah. Such and such happened, and I was so angry. How dare they do that to me? They really made me feel invisible. And the truth is, all I was longing for was to be seen and heard. So you probably do it. And I want to emphasize, do not overanalyze this stuff. Yeah. But this is a structure that will support you. I am a great believer in working with our breath and our energy and really sitting before we write. If we're going to write something emotional, I really would invite you to connect with your breath. I do a thing called the Three Hearts meditation, feet flat on the floor, and then that's coming into your heart space. I'll talk you through it quickly, but you can sit and do this much, much slower. And it's taking your breath down your body, imagining roots from the bottom of your feet and anchoring those roots, that breath, into the heart of Mother Earth. And sometimes there will be something in the heart of Mother Earth that you need to know about and to remember. And you breathe that lovely energy back in, and you take that energy up, 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 up into the heart of the universe. And again, there might be something there. So when I say universe, that might be God, grace, a goddess, your higher self. It's whatever, but you breathe, you breathe, you breathe, and you ask yourself, you sit there and it's I want to, so I use the betrayal. I want to write about betrayal. Like, what is the story? What is the story beneath the story? And breathe. I also use crystals. The other thing that I might do is I might get some sage or some Palo Santo and smudge the room. I don't know if I've got that in the next slide. I'm a big fan of ritual. So cleanse the space, bring myself into the heart space. And sometimes, I don't know if you see that, I tap on my heart just to kind of bring me back to where I am. So it's okay. So we want to breathe into those memories. We want to allow the feeling to come up. The body will tell you what is going on. So if we work with our body, it's going to share that emotion. So we might not be able to name it, but we can feel it. So when we're writing, we want to use sensory language. Now we have a number of senses. What we have to remember about our reader might be, I've talked about visual and kinesthetic. How do our readers understand? I'm highly visual, but if I read a book that talks in visual language all the way through, I'm like, no, I want to feel. I don't want to imagine everything. I want to feel something. I want to know something. I don't just want that visual language. So again, this is something that you can play with. And when you discover what your primary sense is, play with the other senses. Play with feeling. Yeah. I use metaphor a lot. I often think I've got some of my writing sometimes can be a bit flowery. I think maybe it's evolved over the years, but you can use metaphor and you can describe an image by doing the show, don't tell, and that comes with practice. So the tell is, I was angry, my hands clenched. You can learn this. So you could write something and then you feel, how could I write this better? And if you really, really, I'm not going to call it cheating because AI is absolutely fabulous to help. You could put something into AI. You could say something like, I would like to write this in a more sensory way, or to find a metaphor to describe this, or I want to do more show than tell, and describe what it is you want to write about. And it will give you a whole load of examples. Take it and play with it. Take it and play with it. I like to see AI as kind of like my creative brainstormer. So play. So here, here are some metaphors. Oh no, that's not a metaphor. I thought I put some metaphors in for you. Let's go back a slide. No, I didn't. I probably have put the slide in the wrong place. So we'll talk about it again later. So yes, so we've talked about that. Writing from open wounds, don't do it. If it's raw, now something that I always say to anybody who comes and writes a book with me, and it's invariably about a healing journey, make sure that you have a therapist that you can go and talk to. Because if you start writing from an open wound, it's going to bring stuff up. And invariably, yes, we can journal through it, but sometimes it is so important to have a counsellor or a therapist or somebody on hand if that stuff comes up. Please, please, please never, ever be alone. So I always say to people at the beginning of a book journey, go and find somebody. You may never use them. So we don't write from those open, seeping wounds. We write from the healed scar, yeah, with kindness, compassion, and tenderness, yeah. And it's okay to hold back on sharing stuff. I always say we write for ourselves first and then we edit for our reader. And there's some stuff you do not want to share. You can allude to things. Yeah. So emotional writing, yes, we can write that raw stuff, but it's more powerful when we've processed it and shaped it and done something with it so that our reader can fall into it. Yeah. So we want to balance our emotion with insight, moments of feeling, reflecting on the meaning, and a takeaway for the reader. What do I want my reader to feel, and why does it matter? Why does it matter that I want my reader to feel into this memory I'm sharing? So some reflection prompts for you. So write about a moment you couldn't explain back then, but now makes emotional sense. When we have that ability to reflect on things and maybe journal about it or have had a chance to talk to somebody, it's like, yeah, that makes sense now. That thing, that emotional stuff makes sense. What were you feeling? What's changed? And when you write, I absolutely write from this heart space, that edit with soul, so that people who are reading this, they're there, they're experiencing that emotion. So emotion in non-fiction writing is so super important. And I just want to cover something called emotional pacing. So when you're writing difficult stories, you need to be careful that you don't kind of fall into it too quickly, too deeply. You want to pace what you're doing so you can engage with painful material in a much more emotionally intelligent way. So you need to be careful that you don't get overwhelmed or you don't go back into your trauma. So this gentle pacing supports your healing and it lets you stay within your emotional capacity. And you can adjust the pace to create space for those difficult stories to emerge. And I always believe we should do things safely. So the goal is to stay connected without going into that really, really painful past. So we need to think about, is this cathartic or are we re-traumatizing ourselves? Listen to your body. Writing should heal and not overwhelm you. And again, that's why I say that we need to have some kind of counselor or therapist on hand. So we need to pace ourselves. And the way that we do this is that we want to make sure that when we reflect on an experience, we can ask ourselves, what did I learn? How did that shape me? What were the challenges, the gifts, and the lessons? And you need to think about, if you're writing about difficult stuff, how do you come back to normal life? Because if you have an emotional hijack, what do you do with that? So we need to be really, really careful. What I will say before I finish, rituals, breath work, energy work, setting a timer, having a therapist on hand. These are all good things to do to help you with emotional pacing. But for me, emotion, I really believe that we need to have some other tools and potentially a counsellor on hand.